Welcome to A Lunch with Biggie, a podcast about small business and creatives sharing their stories and inspiring you. My guest today is a chef who likes combining badass flavors and putting them in the perfect vessel between bread. Please welcome the chef behind Badass Sandwiches and now Badass Burgers, John Collazo. What's going on, John?
What's going on, bud? Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate it. I've been wanting to talk to you for a while, and I thought this would be the perfect time with new things coming. So I thought this would be perfect. So my first question always is, what's your go-to or favorite sandwich or lunch?
Oh, wow. The Badass.
The Badass?
Yeah, the original. It brings me back to my childhood,
Yeah.
like tripletas,
Mm-hmm.
So it's very similar variation, I guess.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. And that's always a good one. That's always one of the ones I end up getting, that or I get the Ninja.
Oh, the Ninja's good.
So tell people a little bit who have never been, tell people a little bit about Badass Sandwiches.
Okay. So what we do, we try to make fun out of food, if that makes sense. That's the reason why we named it Badass Sandwiches. I mean, we're bad people. It just means that the sandwiches are good, and it's a fun little thing for us to enjoy, right? I come from a really classically trained background, and when I met my wife, hey, what do you want to do next? I'm like, let's make sandwiches. I was tired of plating food in a fancy way. So the way I call that is we make unorthodox sandwiches. We take very, very good ingredients and we put it in between, like you said, a vessel of bread.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of fun with it.
So
yeah.
When you started, your story is amazing because I know you started off as a food truck, but and I know there's like a story before the story of the food truck, but I know that you originally started as a food truck. And then it went from brick and mortar into like your first location in Primrose in the Milk District. So what was the hardest transition going from the food truck to now to a dedicated restaurant? And obviously this is a good chance for you to be able to tell your story of like how it kind of went, because that is, I know you guys did the hustle of everything else when it was, when there was a food truck to actually start.
It's a really good question. You have to be there every day. You don't stop. At least with the food truck, you can take breaks in between, park it somewhere, go, go travel, take a month off, whatever, except with the brick and mortar, you can't do that. You got to keep going. You have to keep going to stay relevant, come up with new ideas, new specials, trending things, and, keep going. The only cool thing about it is that our fan base that could not find us anymore were able to find us, and it's really cool that we still see people to the day that used to eat our sandwiches 8 years ago. And to me, that's just an incredible feeling. And it shows to me that we're not just in the food industry or hospitality industry. We're making relationships with the community. And to me, it's just like an incredible feeling, when I see these people still to the day.
I mean,
so you included.
Yeah. I mean, heck, I remember eating you the first time. I think it was in an apartment complex.
Yes, it was. I remember that day like it was yesterday, bro.
I drove to an apartment. I was like, it wasn't even my apartment, but I wanted to eat your food. I was like, I gotta go. So, and I remember, that was and granted, you did.
I was starstruck.
Whatever,
dude. You knew so many people. Everybody knew you, and I'm like, here's this sandwich Biggie, or Biggie's here. I'm like, come on, you see a Biggie rather. Back then, I'm like, yeah. Whoa, what's up?
No, man. But I think
great memory.
One of the things that I appreciate that you guys have done, and you guys have always been kind of almost ahead of the game. You've always been one step ahead of the game and willing. It's almost like willing to take the risk one step ahead of the game. And why I say that is because when you guys started, it was like 2015, 2016. It was the truck.
Yeah.
So you guys started
2015.
When you guys started with the truck. We were in that. You guys were in during the time when I would say Orlando was at its like peak truck season, where everyone we had the food truck bazaars. Wow. Everyone was doing all those things. It was good like times. Every month. It was amazing how many food trucks we had. I was eating so much food truck food. It was crazy. But it was amazing to see. But then what I noticed was
awesome.
It reaches a point and it got harder to do stuff, and then all of a sudden you guys had to like make a decision. What's my net? And you guys then said, hey, we're gonna have to go and pick a place and jump and do that. So like tell me a little bit about some of that, like what goes in your mindset of doing that, because you did that for the first one and for like the first location. Mm-hmm. Then you did it and you guys were like, hey, we're going to open another location.
Yes.
And then and that was during COVID. And then now we also now are in your next kind of iteration of food.
Glutton for punishment.
Yeah. So I'm kind of curious, like what goes into your mindset when you're thinking of these things and planning ahead?
I don't know. I just want to showcase more of our food. I want more people to experience our food and what we have to offer. Like I mentioned earlier a few minutes ago, we have very unorthodox sandwiches, and it's all about educating people. So that's how we're trying to open another location now, which is called Badass Burgers. It's about just having fun, and I don't know, nurture the most people we can, I guess. That's how I call it, nurture people. So I don't know. Here we are.
And what about the fact of like taking that risk? Because it's always, obviously, it's always, the convenient way would have been stay on the food truck or do something like that, pop up stuff like that. But you guys took risk. You guys obviously took chances to do those things, and then it's the same thing. You took a chance during, and obviously it wasn't your plan. Like COVID hit,
of course, when
you open your next location, your next Badass Sandwich location, and then and now you're going into this next thing, which that one I don't think of it as I think of it as a risk, but I don't think of it as much of a risk because you've already kind of made yourself. You're known as a commodity of like delicious food.
Thank you.
So it's like and it's true. Like your sandwiches are. It's like Wagyu beef. It's like you're going to get like, delicious pork belly. There's going to be all these different flavors and different things. Lobster. You're going to like, there's things that you're going to be like, okay, sometimes sometimes you deal with, and I'm kind of curious about one of the things I wanted to talk to you about was in the beginning, you kind of change your kind of like your not your tone, but your thought process. In the beginning, you were very, I would say, very chef-like in the sense that
big time.
This is what it is, and si no te gusta, and if you don't like it, to hell with you.
Get something else.
Yeah, go get somewhere else.
No modifications.
Yeah, no modifications was always on the menu, and now you've kind of changed. So I'm kind of curious, like what led to that change of going. And I'm not saying that you were letting like everything be modified, but there's slight like, hey, can we modify this or take this? So tell me a little bit about where that came from.
So going back with the risks, we don't stop. We have to keep going. The way I look at it is you have to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. You know what I mean? We found this opportunity when Kathy Rolls was closing, unfortunately. They're good friends of ours. So we figured, hey, you know what? Let me ease the pain of closing your restaurant. Let us open our concept. And I think it worked well, So that being said, we keep going. I want to showcase what I want to showcase. I have a huge support system. Of course, my wife, her, she's incredible.
Yep.
So we just got to keep going when it comes to that, As far as the whole modification part, it's funny. Nobody has ever called me out on that. Thank you. But the reason why we actually change our vision is because we're in the hospitality industry, really.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the industry of making people happy. Our goal statement or mission statement is, hey, you're coming to Badass, you're having a bad day. Once you leave Badass, you're going to be happy. It's going to be the best day of your life, right? So that being said, we had to somewhat get accustomed to that, If you want a Badass no onion, okay, fine, you can have it without onions. I get it, you know. Anyway, it was funny because it was with the whole pickle issue. It's either pickled onions or nobody likes pickles. So I'm like, but damn, the sandwich is really good. It needs the pickled onions. I was just so excuse my French, I was a very a-hole about it, you know. But like I said, at the end of the day, we're in the business of making people happy, accommodating people, and you know what? Eventually I was like, fine, so what I did do, which my wife and I, we had a not pretty big, but a lot of debates about it. I put a sign that says modified at your own risk.
Yeah.
And at that point, if you switch the sandwich or if you modify the sandwich and you don't like it, that's on you, sir or ma'am. That's the reason why we put that on there. So yeah, like I said, we're in the business of making people happy.
And that makes total sense because I can totally see the fact of like you've created this sandwich that has these flavor profiles that are trying to be had, and you're like, and then at the same time, you also have then people going, oh no, I don't like this and I don't like this. Then they take it away and they're like, oh, but it wasn't that good. And then you're like, well, geez. I'm like, of course you didn't have it the way I told you, and the flavor you're not getting the sweet, the sour, all the different flavor content, that I want you to have. So I totally understand. I understand both sides of it, but so I appreciate, and I thought of that because I did have some friends that were like, oh, but I don't like onions. And I was like, dude, you're going to have to eat it. I'm like, in the beginning when we would go, I'm like, it's good. You're going to have to eat it. I'm sorry. I'm like, I eat all of it, so I don't care.
That's funny.
So what is it
You've
about?
known us for that long. You've known us for that long, which is great. I love it.
I've been there since the beginning. I love it all.
Yes,
so what is it about the sandwich that makes it the perfect vessel for your food? Because obviously it's within bread now. You're going from sandwiches, now you're going to burgers, which to me are burgers and sandwiches are cousins, is what I call them. So they're primos. So that's kind of how they're all handheld friends. So what is it about the sandwich and the burger that is like makes it the perfect vessel for your food and in your vision?
For instance, as I mentioned before, I've been classically trained chef I worked in many fine dining establishments, New York, Boston, Martha's Vineyard, all over. What happens that you get home at 2:00 in the morning, right? Either drunk or whatever, from working and then going to the bar like normal chefs. That's what they do, and what do you eat? You either eat a burger, you either eat a sandwich, cereal. I'm not opening a cereal restaurant, but I'm just saying, like, you look for the type of foods that are somewhat comforting, Now I sell sandwiches, so you're really good food. But the point is this, that why sandwiches? Just because it's just comfort food. Everybody can relate, You can make a really incredible sandwich, and be the best meal of your life. It doesn't have to be a Wagyu A5 filet topped with foie gras. It could be a simple sandwich or a simple burger, And the reason why, it's just everybody can relate. You can make whichever burger or whichever sandwich, all the way to just a plain hamburger, all the way to, an incredible, very expensive burger.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, just comfort food. That's the reason why burgers and sandwiches right now.
Hey, you're not going to get any complaints from me.
I know you love sandwiches.
That you're speaking my language. I agree with that because I make everything. I try to make everything into a sandwich.
I know you do.
So with that being said, obviously I always love to ask people that are chefs and people that are kind of when they're creating different levels of flavor. I want to know what are some at home sandwich making tips.
Wow, that's a good one. Make your own pickles at home. Like, for instance, I love making either pickles, but I'm into doing confit a lot, like either confit onions or tomatoes. And instead of doing pickles, you process them in oil. You know what I mean? So, like I said, I have confit tomatoes, I have confit onions, garlic. I mean, you name it, I have it. So, and that alone will really step up your sandwich game. I truly believe. Different, and also build layers. Make sure that build the layers as if you want the sandwich to taste, if that makes sense. Don't flip it over. Try not to put your veggies on the bottom. So I hate when people do that. I like to build a sandwich with the base of the sauce, then the cheese, meat, a pickle of some sort, then maybe a different type of meat, and then your veggies and so forth. And of course, I always layer each layer of vegetables, whether it's tomato or lettuce or onion, raw onion, whatever it is, with a little bit of salt and pepper. Every time, just to bring out the flavor, pretty simple, or a pepper or something like that. So that's pretty much it.
What
toast your bread too?
Oh yeah, you gotta have that. It gives you that layer, and it also holds your sandwich up, because sometimes if you put too many things. What about you? You do a lot of different aiolis and different mixtures. Do you just kind of like play with the different flavors and just kind of like, because I sometimes joke around. I tell my wife, I was like, oh, we're gonna do sweet chili sauce and mayonnaise, and we're just gonna mix it up and just and add a little something to it. Have some fun with it.
That's what it's about. You have to have a lot of fun with it. I have a lot of fun with the staff when I make sandwiches and I cut up or meats or whatever, and I go, hey guys, Scooby snack time, and they're like, they already know. Oh, thank you, chef. So you have to have fun with it. A lot of restaurants don't do that because, let's say, if it's Wagyu, it's very expensive, right? But you want your staff to experience it too.
Yeah.
So we just play with food and hope for the best, that it tastes the best. So but we have a lot of fun with it. That's in our business. I believe that's the key, to have fun.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, especially since it's a lot of repetition.
You got
it's
it.
a lot of work.
You got it.
It's nonstop.
You got it.
So I totally can see where if you don't make it fun, then this makes it very difficult.
It doesn't make sense. The food doesn't taste good. Doesn't taste the same at all.
Exactly. Happy staff, happy food,
You
good
got
food,
it,
right?
sir. Of course, always. Whether it's a sandwich or even a bowl of cereal,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter.
Exactly the truth. What so I know we talked a little bit about the burger aspect of it,
Yes,
but
sir.
I was curious on like what made you decide to say, "Hey, I want to get into I want to do burgers now." Like what what can people expect differently to if they were to when they come to Badass Burgers, what can they expect when they come?
So, why burgers? Again, comfort food. You know, we love burgers. We love sandwiches. We love pizza. I wouldn't do that. Let the experts do that. Pizza Bruno. Much love to you, bro. But, I always wanted to do burgers because it's just in between two pieces of bread, just like the sandwiches are. And my wife, to be honest, she loves burgers. So what can you expect when you come to Badass Burgers? You're going to expect, high quality beef, better than the norm. We're going to be making the buns in-house. We have really, really good ice cream coming on board. Just very, pretty simple stuff, And then, of course, we're going to be doing a blend of Australian full-blood Australian Wagyu. So we're pretty excited about that. So
is it a smash burger? Is it a thick burger? What do you
funny.
kind of? I'm always kind of curious because that's like the big trend now is the smash burger.
It is.
So-
But a lot of people are making the smash burgers too crunchy, like it looks like a
crust,
cracker.
yeah,
So
yeah.
mine, I'm gonna call it little smash. How about that?
Okay.
Because it's not smashed. It's still gonna be juicy in the middle. I don't want to do what everybody else is doing.
Yeah,
Let
yeah.
them do it. That's what they're doing. I love it though.
Yeah.
But our concept is gonna be a little bit different. It's just gonna be a nice juicy burger. Similar to the Five Guys.
Okay.
Five Guys is not quite a smash.
Yeah, yeah.
Something like that.
Okay.
So.
What fries or your chips?
Just French fries. That's it. All we're doing is just French fries. No chips, plain French fries. That's it. Oh, they're going to be fried in beef tallow as well, instead of just regular canola oil.
Okay, and
So
then
we're pretty
and you said
stoked.
ice cream. So does that mean there's milkshakes involved, or
Yes,
is
sir. Yes, sir. We're going to be doing soft serve ice cream. Somewhat similar to like what you get, let's say, at McDonald's. Something we don't want to do what Kelly's Ice Cream does. They do it well. That's not what we're striving for. What we're striving to do is just really good soft-serve ice cream, milkshakes, French fries, and we're also doing hand pies. I grew up with hand pies. When back in the day, we used to call it apple pie de manzana.
Yeah,
you know what
yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
From Burger King.
Yeah,
That's
or
what we're
McDonald's,
doing.
yeah.
McDonald's had the same thing, exactly. So we're stoked to be doing that. Just keep it simple. Your old school nostalgic burger joint. That's what we want.
No, I love that. I love that. I love the idea of a burger, fries, and a shake. You can, like a little combo, and that's
simple,
it, man.
Simple. We're gonna have meals. It's starting at $11.99 for French fries, a cheeseburger, and a drink. Can't beat that.
That's great, man.
So
I'm excited. I'm
Thank
excited.
you.
What's the time frame are we looking at? Are we looking at somewhere in the September, October range?
Let's say first week of October.
Okay.
To be safe. Soft opening is getting there really close.
I was gonna say
really, really quickly.
I'm assuming are you guys? And I'm always kind of curious when people that have multiple locations or multiple spots. Is your team from Badass Sandwiches? Is it going to be a mix?
You will expect to see them. Yeah.
Like you're able to like kind of cross pollinate and
Yes,
have
sir.
them so that way they're kind of both in different areas, but
Yes,
at the
sir.
same time. That's awesome. It's very smart to be able to do.
gonna be
That's why I
cool.
was curious, and it's the fact that you're not that. It's like not that far of
Not at all.
massive distance across from
Not
each
at
other,
all. Yes,
which
sir.
is phenomenal. That's awesome, man.
Thank you.
What do you think has been your recipe for success?
The energy I guess I have in me, is I don't stop. I like to keep going. I love motivating people. I love nurturing people. That's mainly what I got into this business for, into cooking. It's a different feeling when you're feeding somebody your hard-earned work, and they see it and they taste it, they enjoy it, and to me it's just incredible. So, yeah.
I love that.
Thank
I love
you.
that. What inspires you?
The people I have around me, my wife, my mother, the staff, the life that I have in general inspires me. I get to get up every day, and inspire people, I guess, in some sense, motivate people, guide people, teach people. employ people. The guys that we have, they come in and, man, the fact that they can survive and feed themselves with our checks that we're giving them, I guess, our wages, it's pretty incredible. So that's my inspiration.
No, man, I get it. That's
great.
kind of the what. One of the other questions I had for you was what is well, we've talked about what is the secret or things like that, but what advice would you give? I was going to ask you I guess since I asked you about the sandwich, I'm going to say what tips can you give someone who's making a burger at home? I'm going to ask that one because I'm kind of curious now, because I like making burgers at home as well, and I'm a big fan of using. I do a lot of sauteed onions, like I do the sauteed mushrooms for my wife. We try to make it like a burger bar where we try to get all the different toppings to try to go that route. Do you have any tips on, especially if someone's like either grilling or doing something at home for a burger?
Don't grill your burger.
Don't grill the burger.
On a plancha, like a saute pan or something.
Or like a cast iron or a cast iron.
Oh, beautiful, of course.
Yeah,
He holds the heat well.
Yeah.
Don't butcher your burger, meaning don't do
the push that everyone likes. Yeah.
You can do this a little smash like that, but not to kill the burger.
Yeah.
Give some juices.
Don't squeeze.
In there.
Leave all the juice in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then and usually obviously a medium. It's like, how do you? This is one of those where I laugh because I sometimes think of when you said no modifications. That's how I feel when I grill for people, because then you got people that are like, oh no, that's too rare, and then I'm just like, dude, put it in the microwave then. I don't really care.
I don't know what to tell you.
And I'm like, I don't. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, I don't know what to tell you either. So yeah, that's always a tough one. What advice would you give someone who's starting out and wants to start something? What advice would you give them?
Do it. A lot of people don't do things in life because they're scared.
Yeah.
They're either scared of rejection, scared of failure, scared of falling. Why don't people do skateboarding, right? Because you're afraid you're going to fall. But if you're fearless, you keep going, just jump. I mean, when I opened my first store, I applied for every single credit card you can think of, like... My wife told me, let's open here. I'm like, you're crazy. Okay, we're broke, but I can make it happen. I apply for every single credit card there is. You can be fearless. You can be fearful. You have to just jump and get it done. So if you have any dreams, if you have, how they say that you have that little voice behind your ear that bugs you so much, get it done. If you don't do it, you're going to regret it. I live it. Every so often I get that voice, do it, and I don't do it. And I'm like, shh. I'm sorry.
No, you could say,
oh, shit, why didn't I do that? You know what I mean? And then my wife tells me, didn't you listen to the little voice? I'm like, no. Well, why the fuck now? You know what I mean? So just do it. You just have to keep going. Just don't have any fear.
It's someone told me once, one of my guests told me once that when you get an idea, is like a muse telling you like, hey, this is what you should do, and if you don't do it, it'll go away and go to someone else, and then someone else does it.
It happens.
And it happens a lot, and I'm seeing it more and more now when as I've been doing these podcasts and talking to people and just coming up with ideas, and later on you're like, oh man, I totally should have done that, and then that kind of happens. So yeah, I totally get that. I got one more question, and then I want you to plug. What's the, I guess I'm always kind of curious, people who own restaurants, because we, as a customer, I see the outside. I don't ever see the inside of the house. So my question is, what's the hardest part about running a restaurant that people don't realize?
The hardest part, to be honest with you, is being able to, I call it cater, or rather adjust yourself to each personality that you have in that establishment. To me, personally, that's the hardest part. It's not how to meet numbers or meet goals. To me, is that, like, how do you keep all of your employees happy? How do you yourself change, whether it's your vocabulary, because some people, you have to do that. You have to change your tone of voice, etc. How do you change for everybody else? You're still by still being yourself and without losing yourself, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part in order, to run an establishment, because obviously there's so many parts. You cannot do it by yourself. You have to have a team. You have to have a crew. To me, that's the hardest part. But you also learn from it. You know what I mean? I've learned so much from our staff, how to have more patience. I tend to be a little bit perfectionist, I guess, in this business. In order to keep people, I had to kind of let that go a little bit. So like I've learned so much this past few years, So to me, that's the hardest part. Like, how do you change into 10 different people? Think about it. If you have 10 staff members, you kind of have to change, each time, because you're kind of like their mentor at the same time. We hire a lot of misfits, we have to mentor them in order for them, to do well, right? So we have to guide them, whether sometimes it's in life. Why do we do that? Because like you said, happy employee, happy customer. That's our foundation. So to me, that's the hardest part. Everything else is pretty easy, I think. So
how difficult is it for you? And I look at it as, because you obviously you curated a menu, you've come up with everything, and then it's one of those where I'm assuming it's kind of almost like when you're like a parent teaching their child, because you have other people now doing your food. You're not in the restaurant all the time. In the beginning, that's what people expected. They expected to see you and they expected your food. Now, when you walk in, you may not be there because obviously you're a business person. You got other things to deal with.
Yes.
But people are expecting the same flavors, the same quality of food that you're going to be doing.
Yes, sir.
How difficult is that sometimes to have that kind of almost like the let go of the training wheels and let the kid let the kid you know what I mean, like let the cook and kind of and let them be, and at the same time keep it within your process. Like how difficult is that?
It was very difficult at the beginning when I decided to, I've worked a whole year straight, 8, 9, actually more like 9 months straight without a day off. And I started, let me think about myself a little bit. I have a lot of older friends, and a particular friend of mine tells me, you have to feed the machine. You have to make sure that you have time for yourself. You have to make sure that that you do X, Y, and Z for yourself. If not, you're not gonna make it.
Yeah.
And these are like people that love to be outdoors. He loves more what do you call that? Dirt bikes, right?
Yeah.
So. He tells me he's also a butcher and all that stuff. And he taught me so much. He tells me, make sure that you feed the machine. Make sure that you have time for yourself. Now, I started doing that. And, of course, I'm looking at the cameras all the time until I met this guy. He owns a restaurant in Smyrna Beach. And we got there around 3:30, 4 o'clock, and he was just pulling up in this badass boat. I mean, sick, like 4-engine boat. And I was like, wow, and all this fish. And he owns that restaurant. And I got the pleasure to meet him. I forgot his name, but he tells me, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just checking the restaurant. The camera's, he's like, well, excuse my French. He tells me just like this, well, why the fuck aren't you there? I'm like, what do you mean? Well, if you're looking at the fucking cameras, might as well just be there. Enjoy your fucking time. You're at my place. I'm like, oh, shit. And he would treat me to a beer, He was so hospitable. And he's been doing this for so long that I listened to him. I'm like, okay, got it. So what happens? Now I don't worry so much. I have a really good team. I have a good manager that runs things. Of course, I go every day and I do line checks and taste things, etc. But in order for me to be able to live and not blow my brains out...
No, it's important.
I had to let go, and what's more important. To me, quality of life is important. Be with my wife, being at home with our dogs, travel, spend time with my mother. When my son comes into town, I get to spend time with him. So it was very difficult letting go, but at the same time, I started learning what's more important in life. You know what I mean? Working is important. Absolutely. And people, chase the dollar. No, fuck that. Stop chasing the dollar. You know what I'm saying? The dollar is good, of course, to live. But if I keep chasing the dollar, I might never get it. And then I'm going to lose, the great opportunities in life and spending time with my family. You get, makes sense?
Yeah, totally.
So it was very hard to let go. But now I'm living my best life. And it's great.
And I think that's so important. And I think it's a massive lesson for
absolutely
for everyone to kind of figure out what it is. Because at the end of the day, like, and I've heard that before, like the whole idea of the recreation, having the recreation, the socialization, like the being useful, the responsibility.
Got it.
All those things are so important in like the balance of life. And if you don't have those things, then at the end, like when you look back, you're like, well, what did I do? What what do I have for
my
it?
legacy?
Yeah, what's my legacy besides, I have great people and food, but it's like, what have I done? What do I do to enjoy myself? So I totally understand feeding the machine.
You have to.
That makes total sense.
You love traveling. I love when you travel, Alaska and all that.
Yeah,
come on.
Dude. When I travel, I do. I'm like, that's one of the things that my family and I like to do, and we try to. I get inspired, and that's kind of what it is, right? When you get to travel, go away somewhere, you get that inspiration.
Yes.
You always feel revitalized, and you kind of seeing something from somewhere else. To me, I use it as like every time I go out somewhere, I'm like, I get inspired either for something that I think I'm like, ooh, this would be fun to do, or we should have this in Orlando, things like that. So I definitely understand.
Create memories.
For sure.
Yeah.
Where can people find you? Where can people follow you? Where can people eat your food?
Badass Sandwich. Google it. We're everywhere. No, but check us out. Badass_sandwich at Instagram. Check out our Facebook page. We're at 207 North Primrose Drive in Orlando. You know, we're working on some really cool projects as we speak. So stay tuned, guys.
So I was going to ask in the beginning, but I'm going to ask it because so the way badass is spelled, obviously it's badass, but it's bad and then it's AS''S.
Yes.
So why was that? I'm assuming like that makes it hard. Was it because it makes it easier for like things not to be like I guess screened, or at least kind of like where it makes it like, oh, well, this is a profanity or something like that? Is that what it is, or what was the thought of that?
Pretty much when I came up with the name back, 9 years ago, almost 10 years ago, when I met my wife. The reason why we put the apostrophe is, yes, you got it. It's just so it's almost like a custom, to the as word. So it's really not it's as is.
Yeah.
But if you say badass,
yeah,
it's still kind of like,
yeah.
So the reason why we did that is just so people accept us more and easier versus thinking that it's, like you mentioned, a profanity or negativity, So, and it's funny, a lot of people didn't want us in their events, but a lot of people did. And, YMCA didn't want us. And I'm okay with that. Once we opened Primrose, then they wanted us. UCF didn't want us either on campus.
And I believe because they didn't know any better. They didn't know any better, right?
You got it. Then they knew us, and then as the community got to know us, they're like, "Holy crap, these are actually pretty good people. Let's invite them to our events." And we got invited to churches, and it was really, really cool. Oh, even soccer events, huge soccer events with, hundreds of kids playing soccer all the way from Pee-wee all the way till teens, And to me, that was really cool when we got accepted more and more. I was like, okay, let's have more fun now,
Yeah.
And little by little, and we do really cool stuff, It's really great being part of the community.
Well, I was always kind of curious on like that because I figure that's like a hurdle. That would have been a hurdle for you guys in the beginning, and then when they're like, okay, I get and then when they try the food,
accepted it,
then when they eat the food, they're like, okay, I get it. This is a badass sandwich.
Yeah.
I get it. I understand. So yeah,
but it was bad. It was bad. I never forget when, like I said, YMCA they wanted us their event. Like they loved the food, they loved the concept, but they said that the name had to change and also the menu items. I'm like, but I can't do that, and I needed the money so bad, bro. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do this. And ended up being like, we didn't do it, and here we are now.
Yeah.
So everything happens for a reason, man. We're blessed. So what can I say?
For sure, man. Well, John, thank you so much for having lunch with me today. I really appreciate it. That's our show for today. Thank you so much to John Collazo of Badass Sandwiches, Badass Burgers, for being on and having lunch with me. Definitely make sure to check out both of their locations. And if you've had their food, I want to see. Everyone always tends to take pictures. I always love seeing sandwich. I'll take any handheld pictures. Just show me the pictures. If you enjoyed the show, definitely make sure to subscribe. If you want to support me, check out my brand, Deli Fresh Threads. Obviously do some shopping for sure. If you own my stuff, every time you wear it, take a picture and post it. The more people that know about my brand, the better. Thank you. Until next time, keep eating sandwiches and follow your passion. Thanks, everyone.